Dealing with our parents as they get older can be one of the most complicated and honestly stressful things we ever go through. And it's especially hard when the relationship has always been a little bit difficult. This isn't just about managing appointments or medications. For so many of us, it's a deep personal struggle that can feel incredibly lonely.
Does this sound familiar? That little jolt of anxiety, that knot in your stomach the second the phone rings, because you're already bracing yourself for what's coming. Or maybe it's this, that feeling that your life isn't really your own. You're just about to get a little break, a little time for yourself, and then, boom, a crisis happens, and suddenly your plans are gone and you're pulled right back in. And oh, this one, the emotional whiplash, the feeling of constantly walking on eggshells. One minute you're the hero, the next you're the villain, and you have absolutely no idea what you did to cause the switch. So if any of this is hitting close to home, please know you are not the only one feeling this way. And more importantly, you are not powerless. We're going to walk through a new way of looking at this using the amazing framework from the book Coping with Your Difficult Older Parent. Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, first we have to get to the real source of the exhaustion, because it's probably not what you think it is. Here's the most important insight to start with. The difficult stuff you're dealing with right now, it was almost certainly not caused by aging. The stress of getting older, health problems, losing friends, feeling dependent, it just acts like a giant amplifier, turning the volume way, way up on personality traits that have been there for a very long time. And this right here, this is the single biggest mindset shift you can make. You are not dealing with a new problem. You're dealing with a very old, very ingrained pattern that's just under a ton of new pressure. And just recognizing that, just saying that out loud, is the first step toward finding a new way to handle it. So how do we start to make sense of all this chaos? Well, the source material gives us this brilliant kind of decoder ring. It organizes these lifelong habits into 6 main patterns. And just being able to put a name to what you're experiencing can be a huge relief. It gives us a vocabulary, right? There's the dependent parent, the dampening or negative one, the narcissistic parent, controlling, self-destructive, and fearful. Now, we're going to focus in on a couple of the most common ones, because the strategies that work for them often work for the others too. Let's start with a pattern that can feel completely and utterly draining. The dependent parent, the one whose needs just seem bottomless. And we're not just talking about needing a hand with the shopping. No, this is a deep, almost primal fear of being alone. And that fear drives them to do whatever it takes to keep you near, which usually creates this awful cycle of guilt and anxiety for you. I mean, take this story about Al. He has a scheduled daily call with his mom, Bia, but for him, it's not just a nice check-in, it's this high-stakes test. If he's even a few minutes late, he's not met with, "Oh, I was worried." He's met with this ice-cold anger. Where have you been? It leaves him feeling confused and hurt every single time. And here is the aha moment. B's anger, it's not really about Al being late. It's not logical. According to the book, that small delay triggers a massive, lifelong fear of being abandoned. Her attempt to control him isn't about manipulating him for fun. It's a desperate, panicked attempt to manage her own terror. Okay, let's look at another incredibly challenging dynamic. This is the dampening, or really negative parent, the one who seems to see everything, especially you, in black and white. This idea of splitting is what causes that feeling of emotional whiplash we talked about. One day, you're perfect, you're on a pedestal. The next day, you do one little thing they don't like, and you are suddenly the worst person in the world. There's no in-between. Look at Mary's story with her son, Steve. For years, Steve was the good son. But the second he decided to move out with his wife, a totally normal adult thing to do, he crossed an invisible line. In her mind, he abandoned her. So he went from the all-good box straight into the all-bad box, just like that. And here we go again. You see the pattern. The surface behavior, the anger, the rejection. It's a defense mechanism. The source material suggests that for Mary, her son growing up felt like she was reliving some much older, deeper wound of abandonment. She wasn't reacting to Steve in the present. She was reacting to a ghost from her past. So you see these patterns, you see how deep they run. And the big question is, what on earth can you actually do about it? If you can't change them, are you just stuck? No. This is where everything shifts. The focus moves from the them to you. And this is such a powerful realization. The goal is not to fix your parent. They've had a lifetime to become who they are. The goal is to change your steps in this painful, repetitive dance. You're the one who has more insight, more flexibility, and more ability to change the dynamic. And here's the game plan. It's a new approach. First, acknowledge the feeling behind their words, not the words themselves. Second, set firm but kind boundaries. Third, respond with empathy for their emotion, not with logic to try and win the argument. And fourth, and this one is key, learn how to gracefully disengage from those circular fights that go nowhere.
Let's see how this actually works. Let's go back to Alan, his mom. His old response is to argue the facts, right? Mom, you're being unreasonable. It's a fight he will never, ever win. The new response completely sidesteps the fight. He acknowledges her feeling. I can see you were worried. He states his boundary. I'm looking forward to our visit on Sunday. And then he ends the call. He's not trying to win. He's trying to protect his own peace.
This is so, so important to remember. So many of us feel deeply guilty when we set a boundary, like we're being mean or selfish. But this isn't about punishment. Setting clear, kind boundaries is what saves the relationship in the long run. It prevents the resentment and burnout that eventually makes you want to walk away for good.
And ultimately, this is the gift you give yourself. When you can start to see these really difficult behaviors not as a personal attack on you, but as a symptom of your parents' own lifelong pain, it changes everything. It doesn't make the behavior okay, but it can take the sting out of it. It can diffuse your anger and replace it with, well, with peace. Look, this is not about a massive overnight transformation. This is about taking back one small piece of your life. So what's one little boundary you can set? Maybe it's deciding you won't pick up the phone after 9 p.m. Maybe it's letting one critical comment just fly by without responding. It starts with one small, consistent change that is completely within your control.